Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining the Behind Company Lines podcast. Today we have Chao Cheng Shorland, co-founder and CEO of ShelterZoom, a leading blockchain-based smart document SaaS provider, here today. Chao, thank you so much for joining the show. I'm so excited to chat with you, especially about the future of blockchain and all the different applications, some that we, I think are popularized and most people know about. But I think what interests me the most is the underlying things that we're not so aware of or that businesses are taking part of that are going to be pretty much just normalized in our day-to-day, kind of underlying the experiences that we have, which so excited to chat with you and what you have going on at ShelterZoom and the different products you're working on and features. But before we get into all that good stuff, you said, in your background experience, you actually did some work for the Vatican in some of their documents, kind of validation and clarification and things like that. Was there anything that surprised you about their documentation when you were working with them during that project?
The main part we actually did really helped a Vatican's library called Pontifical Orange Alley Institute. Sorry, the mouthful. Yeah. And the library, which stores a lot of very rare manuscripts and help tokenize those manuscripts. So once the documents get tokenized, now the institute actually has full control over those documents, and then have the control over recipients share and download and access as well. I would say it's a very interesting project. Obviously, it was the first time we actually exposed ourselves into this territory, and it was a very interesting and a collaborative project.
Yeah. And how do you tokenize a physical object? Is there something that you put on the object or encase it? What essentially validates that the original is actually the original? Obviously, we know the digital asset is because we can track it. But how do you tokenize something physical?
So actually, it needs to go through the digitization process first. So really, once the manuscript gets digitized, and then the tokenization gets immediately applied to that. So it's very much like you have a lot of historical records or other type of paperwork. If company actually want to tokenize, they can preserve all those historical records. So similar to manuscript. Yeah, you do need to go through the scanning, the digitization first. Immediately put a tokenization on top.
Yeah. And what kind of technology do you need to say, validate that the document is what it is? It's from the official source. Is there some kind of platform or technology that helps people do so? Or is there something in the underlying information on that document that tells us?
Yeah, so we invented our own document tokenization technique, and which patented and also trademarked called document token and contract token. So the technology we use, we actually leverage Hyperledger Fabric, which is enterprise blockchain. So within the Hyperledger Fabric, we set up multiple nodes. So when actually the document get tokenized, and we actually distribute the data through multiple nodes, and making sure the data becomes immutable, so you can't really modify, and then you always have the trackability, you have the ownership. So it's all built into our tokenization technology. But what happens is with this foundational technology, we build a lot of applications on top. So our company is really a solution company, not really focusing on the infrastructure layer as such. Blockchain infrastructure layer, a lot of companies do that. But ours is really level 2 and the level 3. So we do integration, we do application.
Yeah. And what technologies on the blockchain level do you say tokenize these? I'm assuming they're smart contracts, essentially, that you're building and creating. Do you use Ethereum? Do you use any other type of already kind of current blockchain infrastructure and technology?
Yeah, we use Hyperledger Fabric. So it's not a public blockchain like Ethereum. So we used to be on Ethereum. So what actually, the reason we moved away from Ethereum, because the volume, it just doesn't support the scale as we needed. And also it's very costly. So if you look at the business solutions, enterprise solutions, and majority of those, really meaningful solutions are built on enterprise blockchain, which actually makes total sense. So that's where our technology resides.
Yeah. And what are some of the most interesting applications? Obviously, the Vatican one is so interesting. I don't think a lot of people are kind of think about institutions like that being so modern and having modern technology integrated, which is so cool. But what other interesting applications have you seen your product be used for?
There are so many because we actually build a mainstream product. It's not like a niche product or product can only be used by certain enterprise or certain business. It's really a mainstream product. Anyone wants to protect their documents, want to be able to securely share the document, control the document, tracking who, and also have full control over their recipient can use our product. So I'll give you several use cases. For example, let's say the data leak, and so many organizations have the document leak or information leak, including, say, United States High Court. If you use our technology, that will be completely prevented. So, and then we also have a partner is in the EU nuclear waste management space. So now with the nuclear scientists or data scientists, they can go to the field, use our mobile apps, take a photo. It's completely secure and private. So you can receive those photos and also manage those photos. So no one else, not even the cloud provider, can see that. So then that use case come to legal, for example. So legal is another major vertical. So the legal tech embracing this technology for very confidential information sharing, IP protection, trademark protection, and also even just the normal email from, like Tony to a client can just use our technology as the email extension. So the other one, which is getting really big, is our use case to establish the world's very first case study for medical. So through our technology, now the patients can finally own their own medical records, be able to share, be able to control their own sharing with a third-party provider, with pharmaceutical company, with their family. So anyone now having our solution, and the hospital, once they integrate with our solution, their patients all can now access all their medical records in real time and be able to deliver, get the care much faster. So there's so many use cases, really. And another thing, but a lot of people ask us, what about the songwriting? If like a famous songwriter, or if that person, have a 1 million fans, instead of you share that and you have 1 million people downloading that, now everyone point back to one token only.
Yeah, what is the actual usability of, say, the technology from an extraction standpoint or a visibility standpoint when I'm either a patient or provider or a doctor? How does that work? How can I get access, and how does that access given to me? Is it through a platform? Is it, what in particular? How's it done?
Yeah, so what we actually delivered is a very simple extension. So this extension it doesn't change anyone's workflow. So for example, a hospital, they already have their own patient management platform where they have their pocket of distance. So they just put our document GPS as a plugin. And when those medical records get established, so for example, someone induced a consultation or their blood test result come back, or the radiologist, the X-ray result come back, and they can just press our extension. And as soon as they press our extension, their medical records get tokenized. So once those medical records get tokenized, and then it will be really securely available on patient dashboard. So now the patient come in and then use our document GPS dashboard, immediately see all the document tokens. It's really all tokens sitting behind. But it looks just like a normal medical records. Then now from that point onward, they can control the sharing, control who they share with, and whether that person can have to download the right, forward the rights, or they can revoke people's access at any time. So they have full, control over their own medical records. So that's just how simple it is. Yeah.
It's so fascinating the way it functions, and I think I mentioned it earlier in the show. It's just going to happen under a layer that we don't even see, and how far are we from having, say, all documents, outside of just, your company, your solution, in this layer of security and validation and authenticity, how far away are we from having everything on there? If you were to just give me a ballpark figure. Every document tokenized and having trackability and kind of having the most important kind of pieces of validation along the process, having all that wrapped up into a tokenized piece of document.
Yeah, so we already carved out all the functionalities for people from the tokenization, ownership to control to security. So this whole entire, all the layers already been built and also already have a lot of use cases. And pretty much, I will say all probably big tech companies and big fours, all those large companies already all contacted us. Because the simple thing we can offer to them is to prevent from cyber attack. For example, they have their own document management system, and through our API, we can actually integrate with their system and immediately protect their document, their information, their content, and give them the ownership, give them the control over the tracking as well. So it's really a whole packaged solution. And then some actually pre-built, for example, the email, we have pre-built in with Google and with Microsoft Outlook, but also have the API capability for companies to connect with us.
Yeah. And going back in time here, what initially was the inspiration for ShelterZoom? What were you doing before the company? And then what got you into doing this in particular? I think 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, so I actually was working in the corporate world for like 20 years before I started ShelterZoom. So at the time, I was an enterprise architect. So basically becoming the bridge between innovation, the technology, and the business. So it's like a business strategist, but using technology as enablement. So over the years, I actually managed a lot of large programs. And as a lead architect, like a chief architect. So from the ERP transformation programs in several different companies to the whole supply chain, like the operation, like an international supply chain and a multi-billion dollar company, kind of, the project budget. So those type of programs really made me realize one thing. And everywhere we go, it doesn't matter if it's amazing CRM product or ERP product or other, AI and very simple productivity kind of pack. The one thing is really missing is document contract content management. So we have products, kind of in existence for sure, but nothing is truly that intelligent, truly like a trackable, auditable, and have that capability blockchain can offer you. So that was like really many years of work experience identified that there is a major market need and in this area. So that was like my inspiration, really trying to create something I know I can do that and be able to build something so innovative and really benefit everyone. So it can be so agnostic.
Yeah. And I guess in the initial start of ShelterZoom until now, what has been the advancement in the technology that you've seen? And if you had any piece of technology you have today, from now until when you started the company, what piece of technology would you have loved to have earlier on?
Wow, that's a really good question. So 5 years ago, when we first started the ShelterZoom, the first project, and we already decided to go on blockchain. And at the time, I've kind of like over the years, I have done for over 1,000 applications, as an architect. So you really came across so many when you do the vendor selection to, you inviting other companies to bid for your project and really see the end-to-end solution. But what I didn't actually come across was blockchain technology at the time. So when we first started the ShelterZoom, that was even very new to myself, even after, so many years, people call me like application savant. I've never really blockchain myself, but the concept, the whole, the architectural, it truly makes sense. And because if you
Yeah.
look at this whole Web 2, it is complete mess. The data is all replicated, all polluted, and nothing you can trust at the moment. So there's no, the trust and auditability, trackability anymore. So content owner no longer owns any content. Everyone can upload content. So the blockchain actually really restored that order. But what actually interesting was at the time, no one thought about using the blockchain technology to do the tokenization for documents. Everyone was looking at a cryptocurrency, really the digital asset, and then a few years later was NFT. But at the time, we actually built the very first document NFT, but we didn't even know that was called NFT. It's because it's a non-fungible token, right? So it's a different type of token, but the concept is actually really the same. So I think, if you look at the technology advancement and from the very early days of blockchain to how we invented the first document token in the world, and we have actually added a significant advancement to the world in advancing blockchain. ShelterZoom actually did. Instead of we saw many other companies contributed into this area, we actually the biggest contributor into this area ourselves. So that's what we are very highly recognized. And for example, last year, Gartner included us in Upcycle and for blockchain, the Web3 for last year. So we were in 2 categories: tokenization and advanced blockchain service. And this morning, we were invited by Vatican research group, and as one of the only 2 case studies they could really find in business solutions, right? So they deep dive into our technology, our use cases. They were so shocked. It was already that advanced. So it was just kind of I think the main reason was not because that we definitely better than others, but because our focus on blockchain is so different from every other company we come across. Because we are really focusing on the business benefits, the business outcome. We never really use technology just for the technology's sake. Because technology, it doesn't matter how amazing it is, without linking to real use cases, solving real problems for businesses, it becomes meaningless. So that's why our focus and our approach really made us today, and how we actually design the product, how we innovate, and everything was big. We want to solve major problems. So problems in cybersecurity, problems in data control, ownership control, sustainability, in all these areas of major problems the whole world is facing, and we try to solve those problems. That's how we actually got to the stage we are now.
Yeah, it's amazing to hear about the path to being an innovative and recognizably innovative company. A lot of people would think about finding technology or building technology that's going to be disruptive or, quote unquote innovative, using that same term. But you've taken it from such a different approach that you're solving business problems, which is so amazing and fascinating and simple in the sense that that's kind of guiding you to extract and be curious about other technology that might be helpful. When you're going and building solutions for other companies, a lot of companies focus on a particular, profile, client profile or customer profile to target, but it sounds like you took a certain use case, and saw that use case being, relatable to other industries. Would you have built or went about building it differently, or for this particular technology, was the focus of the business solution and the application of it in other areas? Did that help kind of guide the building more so in creating a really fine-tuned product?
I would say definitely. So we truly coming from the problem space side and understanding what are the real value proposition of a solution like a blockchain-based can provide. What are the differentiators? Why you can't just use a normal Web2 product, right? And technology can solve some of those problems. But we actually truly really nail down the market requirement and the problems they are solving, and the Web2 just cannot solve. So that's where we actually add in the, obviously the business acumen and then the product strategy into this area. And then leverage, like if we learn from real estate, we carry that to other industries because we understand those fragmented documentation, and things out of control. It's really not just for real estate, for everywhere. And now you look at the Medicare or medical, and the medical, why hospitals need our products because they're worried that the patient they're operating in a very insecure area. That's why hospitals do not want to give those medical records to patients. It's not because they actually don't want patients to have them, because they're worried the patient, if they don't have secure environment to manage those documents. So now really adding those two together, and our solution becomes perfect. So now adding the medical capabilities, we can now port that to education, the IP design. So basically, you can just spread around and it really becomes system agnostic.
Yeah. And what in particular, talk about the traction. How many companies do you have working with your solution? What are you excited about last year's growth? And what are you particularly excited about this year in particular?
Yeah, so last year was the first year we actually launched Document GPS. Initially, it was more an individual version. So on the Google Chrome Store, people can download. So obviously our, the purpose is always is for business and enterprises. But to be able to package up the enterprise type of solution, it took time. So it was not until Q4 last year, 2022, Q4, we actually have the enterprise version ready. Then at the start of this month, we launched the Microsoft version as well. So our products now embedded into Microsoft Outlook. So people can just add that as an extension, immediately tokenize their document attachment, the email attachment. And from that point onward, fully protect, track, and then, and also control people's download and share. So that Microsoft launch actually treated tons of companies coming to partner with us and use our product. They roll out. So we actually been truly busy this month. Every day we have enterprise onboarding, giving them the product to use. And then now, literally last 3 months, like I said earlier, and all the big tech companies contact us, and also the very major system implementers for Big Fours, every single company now wanting us and wanting our technology. So we know that we're in a very dominating world now. So we actually, by the end of this year, we predict we will become the very first company ever achieved a blockchain-based enterprise solution, become a mainstream product. So
that's incredible.
Happening in 2020. So we already could see it happening, rolling out in hospital, healthcare organization, one of the largest legal firms, like many legal firms, and financial services industry, real estate, all those government, all engaging with us as well. So we truly see it's going to be a floodgate.
It's congrats, and it's so impressive to see all the work kind of done into a really a product that really tackles the problem, and that it seems like so many people are facing this within their businesses. And if everything goes well, what's the long-term vision for ShelterZoom?
So long-term vision is we will provide a system agnostic, the integration, and also the mobile, right? So the entire ecosystem, everything's integrated. As long as you put our plugin in, and you can immediately protect your company's confidential document or just document in general, and give you the ownership, give you trackability. So basically, this will be achieved through a very kind of broad API network. And also the mobile app, we actually now in the very last stage of Apple publishing. So once it's on the App Store, we know it's going to go really almost like I can use the word viral, because we have so many now already contact us waiting for the product now. So it's very, very unique, and you no longer will be at the your like iCloud or other companies' mercy. They would know that you're doing this year and this time was full, and one meal you'll be eating. Nothing like this will happen to you anymore. It's completely tokenized, and it moves away from all the private eyes, and shelter you away from all those the security issues, privacy, and truly restore your own privacy and give you back things to ownership. So it's a very just really changing the kind of the those dynamics, but not really disrupting your existing workflow. It's almost just a head on, and it's so simple. Literally, if enterprise rolls out our technology or our solution, they don't even feel that any change management required, and they can install across whole using 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, and that's so impressive to see where you've gotten and how easy it is to integrate. I think that's where a lot of companies have the challenges is they've got this great piece of technology, they think they understand their business use case, and then the onboarding kind of falls and falters. What in your I guess if you're talking to other founders who would give some advice, how would you give the advice on how to adopt and onboard, especially enterprise technology that has a lot of stakeholders, that has maybe it's a newer incumbent, newer in terms of the technology than the incumbent, rather than a new feature. It's kind of a rip and replace type of model. How would you advise them to go through the onboarding process to make sure it's seamless, and to make sure that their customers are, using the technology at its entirety?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is keep it simple. You really have to keep your product simple, keep your installation process simple, keep your change management simple. Change management is really the most costly, most kind of like a friction point for enterprise adoption. So if the change management is kept so minimal, require no training, nothing like disruptive, right? So even though the technology is very disruptive, but the user experience is absolutely no disruption. It cannot disrupt anyone's user experience. We want to keep that almost like the same as the existing workflow. So I think that is my first advice. And that will keep your onboarding very quick, very short. So also the approval process becomes much quicker because they know enterprise is very worried about change management. If there's a big change management piece, the sales cycle can increase to 6 months, 9 months, but because ours is no change management. So they actually, a lot of times, 2 weeks, we close the deal. And it could be the first meeting when they say, oh, wow, that's go, And it's really incredible how, the little change management can make the sales much faster and the onboarding much faster.
Yeah.
So the other thing I would say is really don't look at anything from the technical side, from the technology side. It's truly looking at it from the business angle. So when you actually have those use cases and knowing what major problems you're solving, and regardless it's blockchain or blockchain, whatever, AI, whatever the technology, as the technology is fit for purpose and it's future-proof, and you can actually onboard people by explaining very easy, just, this, you don't want your information to be leaked. If you send to someone, you may not trust it because this person can share, can forward, can download your information, reshare. And once you explain to them the use case, oh, wow, we don't want any document leaking. Gosh, what happened with that company, and the reputational damage, the cybersecurity hack. So they immediately get worried and really like, wow, we don't want that. Yeah, we want to use your product. So it's like really showing them the business value and the problems you try to solve. It also bring the onboarding much faster.
Yeah. It's incredible to hear about the simplicity of the process, but also something that, maybe a lot of founders don't understand is trying to keep the workflow for that user, which I think is that much more powerful than, showing them that they can do something in a better way. We're such creatures of habit that however we can use something in the same way that we've been doing a particular task is going to be that much more, I think, powerful when adopting new technology. I have a few rapid fire questions for you that I'm really excited to ask. Number one question right out the gate is, if you had more of anything outside of time, it could be people, it could be technology, it could be anything at all. Outside of time, what would you like more of?
Oh my goodness. And the most children. Last 5 years, when I was on this venture journey, hardly kind of spend a lot of time with them. So both actually ended up in boarding schools now when in college already. And I just feel I'm out the teenager year,
Yeah.
And I wish I had more time for my children for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
If you weren't working on ShelterZoom, what would you be working on?
I have two very major projects already in my mind, and
Yeah.
after season. So one is we're going to work on the life extension technology,
Yeah.
and to prolong people's lifespan much longer. And I
Yeah.
already have some very good ideas how to do that, and I just haven't really had a chance to truly do some R&D and experiment. I just got some very good concepts, and I've never
Yeah.
done any medical course in my life,
Yeah.
but I can see just a different angle how
Yeah.
this problem could be resolved. Not saying people will live forever, but it could actually live a long, long time. So that's
Yeah.
a one project. Something to
Yeah.
after shouted them. Then another one is truly kind of gather a lot of highly intellectual people in almost like a setting, very much like the old days, the writers, musicians, those
Yeah.
mathematicians, scientists all gather together, really socialize, and do a lot of very interesting kind of experiments
Hmm.
and discuss a lot of issues. So I'd love to have something like that and in a French castle.
I love that. Oh, it's so specific. I love the it's like the meeting of the council or the council of or what's the famous one? It's not the Council of Versailles. Is it the Council of Versailles where they met and discussed kind of like religious documents and things like that? But it's so or the round table, if you will,
Yes,
of creative minds. Yeah. Yeah.
But also with a lot of entertainment, with beautiful food, wine, and just something really unique and beautiful music. I love that kind of,
Yeah. Yeah. You have to just connect with a founder who has, a mansion, and then we'll throw a founders party there. And just have a bunch of people in a meeting of vibes. It sounds so fun. Another question for you is whether it's early in your career or now, what books or people have influenced you the most?
Oh, I always say my father is the person who influenced me the most, and he's just truly almost like an entrepreneur genius.
Yeah.
And the way he sees the world is so visionary, and then also he knows how to execute. And he really giving me such a good, like a foundation. When I was growing up, he started, entrepreneurship, and I was really seeing how he executes such a complex, difficult situation. He would able to make everything work. So it was quite amazing. And then, but obviously, there are a lot of books and people really influenced my way of thinking. And I love the book, The Gone with the Wind. It really influenced me, just seeing the landscape, and that actually what drew me into living in south side of America.
Yeah.
And just in a plantation,
Yeah.
those things, and because it inspires me for creativity.
Sure.
A lot of the big ideas were really came up in the plantation, and which I kind of feel like the experiencing that life of the Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
And I start inventing a lot of things and putting concepts into the execution of document GPS, document work. So it's a pretty interesting kind of setting,
Yeah. I love that. I love
would feel less than because I'm overall pretty introverted in a way. Even though I do get a lot of interviews and I talk to people very naturally. But if I have my own time, I just really love some peace and tranquility. And I live in somewhere like there's no one around.
Yeah.
So I feel I truly have a lot of energy. I can draw a lot of energy from myself and actually achieve, that career to very, kind of like it's somewhere I really want to go.
Yeah. It's amazing to hear not only, the how your mind works, but also the different pieces of inspiration. And I love asking that question about influence because founders have such a diverse, background and experience. And some people are like business book forward. Other people are more fiction or bios or what have you. But everybody draws inspiration from something else. It's amazing to hear. I know we're at the end of the episode, and I could talk to you, I think for another hour or so, about not only technology, but, the applications of it in the future of the world. But tell us before we go, where can we find you? Where can we be involved? What's your LinkedIn, your Twitter? What's the website? Where can we get involved to start using the technology, or at least be a fan of the next generation of what's going to be built?
Yeah, so the easiest to find me is on my LinkedIn. So it's Chao Cheng Shorland, and co-founder CEO of ShelterZoom. Or you can contact us at the ShelterZoom. You go to the ShelterZoom.com website, and you can go to the contact page for either sales. It says sales at ShelterZoom.com or info at ShelterZoom.com. So those are the two common email addresses you can use to contact us. And then when you go through the sales, obviously our salespeople will reach out to you and guide you through how to use this product and how to get you on board.
Amazing. Well, Chao, it was so incredible chatting with you and not only learning about your background and experience, but where your technology is going, the advancement of it, and how really, I think the biggest thing I took away from this conversation is focusing on the business problems and finding solutions for them. And, it kind of leads to that innovative, brand and I guess overall experience that your company has been a part of. And thank you again for being on the show. And I really hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you're one of the best podcast hosts. I feel so happy to talk to you and feel so relaxed. Yeah.
Amazing. Chao, that means so much to me. And I hope to do another episode with you when you're either finishing up ShelterZoom or on to the next live extension project. We'll have to talk again.
But many more years. Yeah. To make sure ShelterZoom works for us. Really focus on then we will move to the next one.
Yeah. I love that. Well, Chao, thank you again. And we'll talk soon.
Yeah, talk soon. Thank you.